Well, I want to welcome Justin Clegg on the show with us today. Justin has got an incredible background from being all over the world to speaking multiple languages, and especially when it comes to technology. I'm really excited to have him on the show because he's got a lot of experience with chatbots, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Justin, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dive right into it. Why don't you give me a little bit of background that leads up to you basically creating a company around chatbots?
Sure. So as you kind of alluded, I had a really cool opportunity to grow up outside of the United States. My dad was an FBI agent, and as a result, we lived in a bunch of really cool countries. Mexico City, Brazil, Puerto Rico, spent time in India, and then I was even lucky to spend time serving the people of Africa and in Mozambique. And my interest and career in technology started at Intel. I was recruited in 2013 by Intel. They brought me out to the Silicon Valley, and since that time, I've just been fascinated with a variety of both consumer and enterprise software technologies, and looking at a bunch of business models around messaging and messaging experiences and sort of this conversational commerce. So that's kind of been my intro to the space, and I've been living in Palo Alto, California for 4 years now.
Wow. I'm so intrigued about the idea of growing up with a father in the FBI, but we're going to have to talk about that on another day.
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. So, just kidding. No.
That's amazing. How many languages do you speak?
So other than English, I speak Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Hindi. Most of them, Hindi is conversational. I use it to build rapport with our friends from India. And Spanish and Portuguese are very strong, and I'd consider myself a native speaker, having studied and sort of lived in those countries.
Wow. And so why chatbots? What intrigued you about chatbots? I suspect it has something to do with language.
Sure. Language is a big component. What was most interesting was sort of the shift away from apps and into more frictionless messaging experiences. Today, there's a big disconnect in the way businesses talk to their customers, and customers want to talk to businesses on the channels that they prefer, instead of being forced into more traditional channels like email or IVR, or just sitting on the phone and waiting for 45 minutes. I can't think of anybody that enjoys being put on hold or being routed to a third world country like the Philippines and sort of having this disconnected customer support experience. So there's a lot of thought, going into how do we make that a better experience for customers and end users, and chatbots are a sort of a fascinating solution to that today. 1 in 3 Americans are willing to make purchases via chatbots, and there's about 44% of American consumers who prefer chatbots for customer service versus the alternatives. So those are some big trends that we're seeing right now, and I think those are some key reasons why I'm fascinated with the space.
So give me just a quick, for those that aren't aware of it, a chatbot. What's a chatbot?
Sure. So a chatbot, it's a conversational computer program that customers can interact with using a messaging interface. So instead of going to a website and having to click buttons or go into a mobile app, you can actually get things done in a much easier way by chatting with the chatbot and asking questions in a natural way. An example might be, what movies are playing tonight, or what's the latest score in the NBA Finals. And the chatbots, can be accessed on pretty much any messaging platform. So SMS or text messaging is a popular one. Facebook Messenger, Slack, Kik, Telegram, WeChat, anywhere where messaging is taking place, you can access a chatbot in that way.
I remember back in the day using Cha-Cha for?
Yeah, ask Chacha. I was just talking to a friend of mine about that, and it died pretty quickly. I think it was based out of Indiana or something. But
Huh.
yeah, it was a fascinating idea, right? Ask anything and get your own response.
Yeah. Now you, I guess essentially a chatbot is kind of that, where you ask anything and it can give you a response.
Yeah, I mean, it what it comes down to is, what's your objective and what is the specific intent or problem you're trying to solve.
Hmm.
So if it's a customer support situation where I'm really mad at Comcast and I need a refund or I need my service brought back online, I'm going to communicate with this chatbot in hopes of solving my problem faster than making the phone call. If it's for a sales and marketing use case, perhaps I'm trying to get answers to a question about a product, and I want just a really fast answer around pricing or a feature. And in that context, a chatbot would give me a very quick, concise answer without having to deal with another human being. And then, we can, get as creative as we want, and we can talk about chatbots in gaming. We can talk about chatbots in terms of social and group messaging. So it really comes down to, what's the use case and what's your objective as a customer.
Okay. What's the most common areas, like where people come across chatbots and may not have known it?
Sure. So I think, last year in 2016, Facebook at their annual developer conference called F8, they announced the opening of their chatbot developer platform. And what was interesting about this is that by opening that platform, there would be 60, 70, 80,000 chatbots that would be built within Facebook Messenger. And I think the most common use cases up front, you had Poncho, which was an early, albeit poor performing weather app. And people could ask, what's the weather in Seattle, or what's the weather like tomorrow? And it would sort of understand, a variety of questions around weather. People, of course, love pizza here in the United States, and pizza bots, by Domino's, or the fastest way to order a pizza through a chatbot was always fascinating for a bunch of young programmers who are hungry and coding late at night. Mm-hmm. And then travel, I think, is an interesting use case. How do I book a plane ticket, or how do I make a reservation at a hotel, or book a vacation? And there's been some incredible, innovation around connecting people to those services faster than going to a traditional website and entering your credit card info that way. So.
Okay. So going back to what you said, depending on the intent of the bot, like, for example, the example you gave of Comcast and trying to help people get answers to their frustrations, or at least calming them down, what would be the process of creating a bot for that situation?
Yeah, so you have to, when it comes to accomplishing these objectives, I think you have to first identify and validate and prioritize the opportunities. And then you have to manage the expectation for the customer. You have to be able to communicate things like, hey, we're not here right now, so there may be a delay, or our agents are busy, so here is a bot. and that distinction is very important, because then there's you want to be able to set and manage the right expectation up front. If I think I'm talking to a human and the chatbot says, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that 3 times repetitive, your frustration has now doubled. It went from actually having a problem with the business or the service to now having a problem with the user experience of the business and the service. And so it's your frustrations, it's doubled, and that's not something that you want. So I think that, and then it comes down to execution, right? What are the components of your chatbot. How smart or intelligent do you want it to be? What features or buttons or what type of experience do you want the customer to have? Is it, a place where they can write free text and say anything they want, and leave it to your side and sort of the in-house team of agents to figure out what to do with it? Or is it, here's your options, yes or no? And based on those decisions, you have kind of a decision tree. So I think those are the ways, I would sort of consult a business in how they, start implementing and executing their own chatbot for what they're working on.
Wow. So you mentioned, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about the concept of people getting frustrated about not knowing that they were talking to a bot. Which brings me to this question on artificial intelligence with bots. Are there some bots out there that, or up and coming bots that we might be able to talk to and to some extent not know that it's a bot?
Yes and no. Artificial intelligence is a term that's been around, since the 60s. I think it's really, just a fancy word for machine learning and sort of becoming smarter as it goes and as it gets to know you. I think people experience artificial intelligence or this machine learning every day with services like Pandora or Spotify, where they thumbs up a song or thumbs down a song, and the next day they'll get more songs that are like the ones that they've sent a thumbs up to. So I think we're seeing those every day. We may not be aware. Facebook really took on this project to build their own personal assistant. It was titled M, or Facebook M, and what they learned after about 2 years of research and development and building this thing was there's a 70% fail rate. And no matter how smart you think you can make it, there's still going to be challenges in human language, in understanding meaning and understanding context. So I think, to your question, I've seen great advanced chatbots that perform, a service very, very well. One is StatsBot. They are an analytics bot that works inside of Slack, and they help you track your metrics for your business. And so, I think as we think of personal assistants and personal analytics assistants like StatsBot that are powered by AI, you can get, data insights into your work. Your business can have more data-driven decisions, and where you would need to hire 5 to 10 data scientists who'd come in and kind of set up their own algorithms to answer complex or difficult questions. Now, non-technical or non-seasoned folks can have access to these same machine learning tools and deploy these similar AI services to get the answers to the questions they need. So, yeah.
That's pretty exciting. What are some of the other applications beyond like customer service or stats that we might see chatbots being used?
So I mentioned travel. We're seeing great things in finance. Pretty much every bank and financial service, Fidelity, Capital One, they are, really conducting banking services that give consumers access to market updates, to stock quotes, to personal savings, to credit card rewards. So I think there's a lot of innovation happening on the fintech side of the house. Beauty, fashion, retail, e-commerce. I love the story of Magic, early days for me in the tech space, this late 2014, and this concept of sending a text and getting anything you want delivered to your home. And, and I even think about social good, right? Helping people manage the polls and voter registration and signing up to register for your vote through a chatbot, sending a letter to your own congressman through a simple text message that is then printed from a fax machine and read by your congressman. And then even, services like UNICEF, where, young people around the world can share their voices about issues within their local communities. They can talk about issues like education, health, legal rights. And one thing we even worked on was an emergency communications chatbot called rescue.io. And Rescue helped people text 911 in the middle when they were in a situation where making a phone call wasn't possible. And which was piloted with a variety of universities here in the United States. So as you can see, we're just at the beginning, right, of these innovative messaging experiences. And the technology's been around forever. It's really not new technology. What it comes down to is it's creating new user experiences that are, centered around programmatic messaging and that help people determine, what type of cadence or what type of language or what time of day or the length of their messages. And so I think that the possibilities are limitless. And I think conversational design will become a new trade that for many developers and designers and marketers alike.
Conversational design. The more advanced they come, do you think it's going to be easy for people to develop like to some extent? I'm thinking, for example, Wired, the Wired app. That's like a messaging app. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
So Wired.com. I got on there and sent a message to turns out to be a bot, and I was very impressed with the conversation that it was able to have to an extent. Obviously, it became very apparent that it was a bot the more questions you asked or the types of questions that you'd ask. But that kind of conversation with the machine was fascinating to me. And so my main question is there like a fail-safe that I could see later on if the more advanced that these response trees become or more broad, like deep learning, if they're using that, or crowdsourcing the types of responses that are more natural, is there going to be a fail-safe to know if you're talking to a bot or not?
So that's a great question. I look at bots in sort of three phases. The first phase that we're in right now is human to bots, right? And that's pretty straightforward. Most of us have had some form of experience. Maybe it's been kind of crappy, but we've done it. Phase two is interesting. It will be sort of groups and group messaging with bots involved. So imagine you and I are in a group chat or a group conversation, and we want to either order a pizza together or have a service brought in or get access to expert help. We could sort of do that, and then it flows into the conversation, and you and I aren't forced to really leave and go somewhere else. So it's just kind of a way to weave tech within our lives. And so that will be kind of the second phase within groups. And then phase three, which will be really fascinating, is this idea of bots talking to bots. And imagine a Polish language translation, right? Or a language translation bot and a pizza bot. And I don't speak Polish, but I want to order a pizza in Polish. And so I could essentially have those two bots involved together, and then I can order a pizza in Polish. And I've just completed 2 tasks, and they spoke to each other and able to make that experience happen. So sort of these synthesized experiences between bots, and then even bots creating new bots entirely. So it's a new app ecosystem, and I think it's sort of just a really great new exciting platform here.
That's exciting. That's going to be fun to see that development. Look forward to that. So tell me, Justin, what do you do? There's an organization. It's your organization, and how does that work?
In terms of what I do right now, or
yeah.
So, I believe intelligent messaging. We're just at the forefront. Messaging will scale to a virtually unlimited number of users, and we can get more computing right through cloud solutions, and so what we're doing today is we're building a startup lab. It's a startup studio called Square One Labs. And this model allows us to quickly develop MVPs and give users more options and value while keeping our costs at a minimum. And so it's really, again, it's not a technology problem. It's about taking the existing technology we have and creating new experiences with it. And so with the freedom and flexibility of a startup studio, we're able to achieve this. Some of the apps and services we're working on, are digital assistants, right? Being able to answer 2 billion queries, and through messaging that are compatible with any device on any messaging channel. We're thinking a lot about product recommendations and access to experts and expert help. Of course, language learning is kind of a personal passion of mine. Helping people translate in real time over messaging and with other people. We're thinking a lot about the auto industry, the smart home industry, being able to control the lighting of your home through messaging. And then even, thinking about therapy and personal counseling and support and even personal training, and finding that type of sort of AI motivation and in messaging as a service. So we're thrilled, to see what new experiences we can create today, and how we can use these messaging platforms to converge our online and offline lives. So that's what we're working on today.
That is so exciting, Justin. Hey, we're going to close out here with, we always end every show with 2 questions. So I'm going to let you think about it while I explain it. The first question is what your favorite technology was growing up. And the second question is what future technology are you most excited for? You can't say chatbots because I think we already get that one. But and then following that, I'd love to, if you have a way for people to look up and learn more about Square One Labs and connect with you, I'd love to be able to get that information from you. So with that, why don't you tell us about your favorite technology growing up and your future technology you're looking forward to?
Yeah, no, that got me feeling a little bit nostalgic. I've seen some great tech. I think
first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I just think about accessing music. Was really important to me as a kid. I remember downloading music. Maybe. I don't know. We'll say it was legal. Yeah, I remember using LimeWire to download songs I like.
Yeah.
And being able to have sort of that quote unquote ownership of my own MP3 file, and then being able to create an album using those favorite songs. And I think that's something that a lot of our generation loved. And and then we had Steve Jobs gave us the iPod. So. Those were fun days with that early tech.
Yes, it'd take a day or two to download one song.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool. And what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I think, I'm excited for a world where as ironic as this sounds, where we will move away from our devices, and we'll be able to connect with people and with things more seamlessly. Whether that's web conferencing in meetings throughout the enterprise or through business, whether it's interfaces in everyday objects that we see every day. So a mirror in my bathroom that I can now, have a touch screen and make decisions from that point. My fridge, right, with an interface and being able to order a new gallon of milk that comes to my doorstep. So I think, these interfaces and, interface design is at the forefront. We're going to start seeing great things with the connected car, and what will happen with all the free time that we get once cars are no longer under our control.
Yeah.
So those are some exciting things ahead that I look forward to.
Awesome. Well, Justin, what's the best way to learn more about what you do and to connect?
Sure. You can learn about Square One Labs and our startup studio efforts at squareonelabs.io. You can also read our work on Medium, and my email is justindclegg@gmail.com, and I would prefer to not email. And you're also welcome to send me a text message at 801-473-5570, and you would I guarantee I'd read it, but may or may not respond. So
okay, well, we'll have to make sure it's an intriguing text message then.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm looking forward to the future of chatbots and how it can help, like you said, free up some time and be more efficient in life.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for the time.
Yes, thank you.
Open angle bracket / HTML close angle bracket.